integration part of the information that that we are sharing here, and that is where the real transformation happens. Because I'll tell you what, you'll hear Angie talk about this a lot. She doesn't care about giving you a bunch of information, even though she does, and she will. She only cares about your transformation and what is going to happen with you in your life so that you can receive the joy and abundance that you so desire, that you were created for. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Angie.
Hello, everyone. So good to see you all. I think what I'm going to do is there we go. Can you see me all? Yeah. Okay. I have a little screen. You know what? There we go. Boy, I got big hair today. I was so excited. I got kind of carried away with the hairspray. Have you ever done that before? I got up and I was just super excited. I said to Matt, today is Bless and Release Day. I'm so excited. I even got my sparkly party pants on just for me. But hey, you know what? They got kind of gemstones down the sides of them, I just love dressing up for things like this. I was really looking forward because, some of you I've met, some of you I haven't. How many of you, this is your first event you've done with us? Go ahead and put it in the chat if you can. I know some of you are putting where you're from, which is fantastic. But how many of you, this is your first event with us? If it's your first event, say first event. I love that. Welcome, Joy. Yay. So glad that you're here with us. And we have Trish. Hello, Trish. I'm so glad. And I think it's Celeste. There we go. Celeste. I love all of this. What's so fun about it's Marcy. It's new every day, right? That's how I feel as well. I want to welcome you if this is your first time with us. I love this time of the year. How many of you love the holiday season? When we celebrate Christmas or Thanksgiving or things like that. I know not everybody celebrates it, but I love the winter time. I absolutely love it. And the reason I love it is because I enjoy the springtime. I love coming out of the wintertime in the spring. I love the summertime when everything's alive and, just right out there. And I enjoy the fall time, the harvest time, when you look back and all of that. But I really love the winter time. In order to have things move forward, we go through this, the infinity symbol is always about moving forward, right? There's no beginning and there's no end. And so that's how I feel about winter. For me, winter is the beginning. I know that sounds really odd to people, but I love the feeling of the winter. This is my time where I reflect. It's time where I take some time for myself and I sort of go inward, where it's nice and cozy, and I, have a cup of coffee and a really good book, and I start journaling. I don't know why it is. I think because everything kind of quiets down a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Even though it's busy, even though the holiday is busy, it's like you get to go inward a bit. I love that feeling. And in order for spring to come, I got to go through this period. This is what I really love about it, is that you go through these feelings of it. And the feeling of winter is a time of reflection for me. And so I enjoy it. I'm with family. It's sort of like your life slows down in some ways. You're not busy running all over the place, at least for me. And so I get kind of calm. And so I love this time of the year. I get to look back. I get to look back and reflect. So before we get started, what I would love for you to do right now, if you can, is I would like for you just to take a little note, and I would like for you to write out maybe what brought you here. It can be as silly as, well, somebody invited me, but what brought you here when you heard the idea of bless and release, or the idea of reflecting on the past or reflecting on this last year? What is it that got you excited about it? What I'd love for you to do is that if you could go back to January of this year, Do you remember the feeling that you had in January? Now we're going to go through month by month, but I'm just doing this for a quick little look back. You know, I can think back to where I was last year at Christmas, and I can think about we had a house full of people. We had lots of things that were going on, and I had a big anticipation for my year this year. I had a really big, I remember I chose a word for the year, and the word was expansion. That was my word. My word was to expand and be more than I'd ever been before. And so, if you could, if you've had a goal that you've been working on this year, I would love for you to write out your goal. I want to take some time just to do this little journaling thing right at the very beginning. But I would love for you to write out what's something that you're working on right now. Like if you have a goal, write out your goal. What's really great when you write out some of these things that you know, what was it like last year, and what has been the goal that you've been working on all year long? Do you know sometimes how many of you got exactly what you wanted, what you said from January? How many of you got that idea like right away? You know, I have to tell you, for me, what happened was, even though I really wanted something, I made it quite far towards my goal, but I didn't get everything I wanted. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes you can get kind of hard on yourself because you aren't as far as you thought you would be. Has anybody been that way before, where you're not as far as you wanted to be? And you can start getting into some energy and start saying, well, this didn't happen and this didn't happen. And pretty soon you're in this state of feeling that another year's coming around the corner and I didn't get what I wanted. Well, what would happen if we could get rid of that feeling? What would happen if we could replace it with something different? That's why this is such a good idea to go through this experience, is because sometimes we have a lot of mismatch of things from the year. You know, probably went to weddings, you probably had, you know, some celebration things, you probably went on all kinds of trips and did all kinds of things. But then there's also some moments where you didn't quite get what you wanted. And I don't know about you, but I've been working on a goal for 9 years. How many of you have been working on a goal maybe that long, working 9 years on a goal? Could you be committed to 9 years for a goal? If you've ever had a baby, you're in that for life, right? Am I right about that? Yeah, you're in it for life. So I didn't know about that goal when I signed up for it. I have 3 daughters, and my oldest one just turned 29. Can you believe that? I have a 29-year-old. I feel too young for that, but I have that. That's what I have, a 29-year-old. But as I was thinking about goals and I was thinking about, you know, making space, what I realized is that there's a really great saying that I learned really early on in my career of personal development. And the idea was that order is heaven's first law. In order to be in a heavenly state, I've got to get in an orderly state for myself. And so sometimes as we're going towards that orderly state, we might miss some details about some things, and we can kind of get hard on ourselves about it. But those things are showing up for a reason. And I'm always so appreciative when I start realizing how close I am to what I want to have, or the kind of lifestyle that I would like to live. And I think many times when we're going towards our goal, we can learn how to use the natural laws to help us get there. I love talking about the natural laws. And one of the laws that I really love talking about is the law of vibration. What kind of vibration am I in? What kind of energy am I sending out? Did you know that we're always vibrating? Did you know that? There's a frequency with each of us. You know, if you're in your space right now, I do this just as an idea to get this point across, but I want you to look around in your the space that you're in, and I want to see if you can see anything red in your space. Now, I have to tell you, I saw Susan Driscoll's hat right away, and I was like, oh, there's something red right there. But I want you to look around your room and see if you can see something red in your room. Can you see anything that's red? And so as you are looking and seeing something that's red, do you know we weren't thinking about the color of red a few seconds ago, were we? We weren't thinking about it, but it was there. It was there in the room. It was there vibrating. It was there happening in the room. And yet we didn't put our attention on it. And as soon as we put our attention on it, then the red appears. We see it. Could it be that things that we're learning and things that we're wanting in our life could be just as simple as putting our attention on it? But sometimes what happens in that vibration, when we put the vibration in our mind of what it is that we want, sometimes we can have a stronger vibration come in and interrupt that. Do you ever have those interruptions? You know, when you're doing something, I always think about this when I clean the house. You know, if I'm going to go clean the house and I'll say, I want to clean the kitchen. And I start picking up and cleaning the kitchen. And all of a sudden I need to run something to my bedroom. And so I go into my bedroom to put that away. And then I notice, oh, I should clean this up in my bedroom. And so pretty soon I'm cleaning stuff up in my bedroom. And I realize, ooh, I need to take that into the storage room. I've been meaning to take that out into the garage. And all of a sudden you go out to the garage and now you're cleaning up the garage, and then at the end of the day, you're absolutely exhausted and your kitchen isn't cleaned. Does that ever happen to any of you? Yeah, sometimes you just go down this rabbit hole of one energy to the next energy to the next energy. But the idea that you're in is, I want to straighten and clean something. And so guess what? You're in that mode of cleaning and straightening something, but pretty soon you're just going and cleaning and straightening all kinds of stuff. And you didn't get the one thing down that you wanted to do. And you're like, oh, cleaning the kitchen is so hard. I never seem to get it done. Do you know what I mean? And when you realize, wow, I am paying attention to all kinds of energy. Sometimes when we go after a goal or go after an idea, or we have all kinds of experiences that come in our way, and they can interrupt our vibration of what we're attracted to. I often hear people talk about the idea of attraction. I want to attract this in my life. I want to manifest this in my life. Do you know what the definition of manifestation is? To bring into plain view. That's what it means. It's as simple as that, to bring into plain view. So when we talk about things that we want to manifest, how do we know if we're on track or not? I can tell you this, you can always take a look at your results. Your results always tell the truth. And sometimes what we don't realize is that as we're looking at going and doing something, we get feedback, but instead we turn that feedback into something not quite positive. And we start making things kind of bad, like I didn't get the kitchen cleaned again. And so sometimes we're not aware of the interruptive energy that comes in our way, and it gets us all off track. I've done this a lot towards my goal. I didn't know that my goal was going to require so much attention. And I can tell you, in my attention, I have an attraction. And in my attraction, I'm able to attract. Whatever my attention is at, I'm at a point of attraction. So when I take a look at what have I been putting my attention on, and is that what I want to attract? Then I start thinking, wow, is this really all in my mindset? I'm going to tell you 100% it is. Everything that comes into our life is us putting our attention on something. Now, can I give you just a little, I'm going to grant you all this beautiful gift right here. Are you ready for this? You not getting your goal is not your fault. How does that feel? It's not your fault. I remember when I first heard that, and I was like, what do you mean it's not my fault? Well, I was programmed a certain way to look at life a certain way. And then I had this big vision for something that I wanted, but I wasn't trained to see that goal. I tell the story about, I grew up in a little town called Libby, Montana. It's a little teeny tiny place close to the Canadian border. And I grew up there. And I remember my dad, he was a logger. And I grew up in this small little logging town of about 10,000 people. And my dad had a boss, I'll never forget his name. His last name was Chrismore. And so we would go to Dan Chrismore's house. About every other month, he would want my dad to bring the family when he went to go pick up his check. And so my dad would haul all of us in the car and my mom, and we would go to Bill Chrismore's, not Bob, Bill Chrismore's house. And we would go to Bill Chrismore's house. And I remember my mom and dad would give us the rundown, don't talk out of turn, don't say too much. We all had to get dressed up, like get good, clean clothes on. And they would, tell us all the things, don't pick your nose, don't do this, don't do that, don't show up normal, show up at your very best. Don't embarrass our family. And we would go across the river on the bridge. We would go across the river to the place where the rich people lived. And I remember we weren't supposed to go over the bridge. We went over the bridge. We had to be different people. We had to be different people if we went over the bridge. So when we would get over to the bridge and we would cross the bridge, the car got really quiet. No more fussing, no more feuding, no more, everybody stayed in their place. And it was just like this real serious moment. And we would get out of the car and he would say hello to each of us. And he would tell us how special our dad was. I'm not sure what he was needing for himself, but he wanted us to know that our dad was very special. When he paid our dad, he said, I want you to know your dad really helps our business work. And we're so proud of him and we're so grateful for him. And so we got reminded about this and that our family was important to his business. And even though my dad sacrificed, it was really important. So I started learning some things at a young age. Can you see that? Where you start learning that you got to have some things, only the rich people live across the way, all this kind of stuff. And so when I decided that I wanted to start experiencing some things in my life, I didn't realize I had a belief that I couldn't go across the river and live the kind of life I did. I did the kind of life the environment that I grew up in. I had very similar house, very similar lifestyle as my parents. And it wasn't really what I wanted, but it's what I knew. So I kept creating what I knew. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever done that before? You look at your life and you're like, I have very similar qualities, but how many of you deep down want more? How many of you want more? And that's something that I had. And whenever I would say, I want more, I would hear this little talk come up that would say, you need to be grateful for what you have. You always want more. Just take what you can, and that's good enough. You need to be grateful. And I remember this feeling constantly that me wanting more was not a good thing. Don't be so selfish. I wanted the biggest piece of the dessert. Remember when you went as little kids and you looked at all of the cuts and you would look and see which one had the biggest piece? And I would hear, don't just pick one. You don't need to always get the best of everything. And I started thinking about that. Maybe I don't need to have the best of everything. That's selfish. I started hearing this idea. If I want more, it's selfish. And if you take everything, there's not enough for everyone else. Anyone get that one? If you take everything, there won't be enough for everyone else. If you get it, someone else doesn't get it. Oh, I remember that lesson too. And some of these lessons that I learned, I started living with them all the time. They were running dialogues that were happening in the back of my mind. So whenever I wanted to go for something, I would say, you don't need that. Just be thankful for what you have. Don't be so selfish. And so when I really got to this point where I was in a position in my life where I didn't really like it, and I gave as much love and as much of myself as I could, that I was just running myself ragged. I was working about 10 to 12 hours at what I was doing. I was taking care of everyone else. I landed up in the hospital because I triple booked myself trying to get to everybody's things and help everybody and make sure I make cookies for the neighbors down the street and make sure I take a plant to someone else and make sure I make a meal for this sick person over here. And, oh, my employees need some help over here. And pretty soon I didn't know who I am. I don't know who I am. Sometimes I can get so wrapped up that I don't even take a breather for myself to say, what do I want? Especially if you're a mom. Now, I love my girls a lot, but there was a period of time where they all left home and I was so used to serving everyone that I didn't even know who I was. There was a period of time where my parents, I know some of you heard my story, but my dad was killed in a train accident. It was just an accident. He was 61. And then a few years later, my mom got cancer. And so if I was at such a point of grieving that I couldn't go into my job, I couldn't work anymore. So if I'm not a daughter anymore, and if I'm not working in my business anymore, and if my kids have all left home and I'm not a mother anymore, and Matt and I have been married, but the last thing we have is time for ourselves. So if I'm not all of these things, then who am I? What is defining me? And I realized I wasn't living my life any way that I wanted to. And I remember sitting down and taking a look at where was I spending my time? Was I giving myself enough space to create? Was I really listening to myself? And so one of the things that really helped me, believe it or not, was to look back over the year and what did I give my time to? Why am I in this state that I'm in? And how could I recreate something for the next year? Do you see the difference where it's now looking back and seeing what has been my pattern or my habit? Now, what would I like to do with it? Now, it's not bad every year. Can I tell you, I had a lot of great things that happened in that year, a lot of celebrations, even though, yeah, I had some death and I had my kids move away, but I also had some really great things that happened as well. I made a decision that I was going to do personal development. I put money down on myself. I began to really start talking about myself differently. I started learning about myself. I did a lot of really great things, but it didn't quite get me to where my vision or my goal was of what I wanted differently. Even to ask for what I wanted different was kind of scary. How many of you are at the state right now that you've been working on yourself or you've been doing something towards your goal or your idea and you're ready for that goal to mature? How many of you have been depositing lots of good things in towards your goal and you're ready for that goal to mature? You want to live the life you've been thinking about or dreaming about. Yeah. Are you ready for that? Yeah, you can put your hand up. It's all right. It is such a time when you are working towards something and you think, is this ever going to come true? And I can tell you, absolutely, your success. I was just on a call this morning with Peggy McCall, and we talked about your success is 100% guaranteed. I remember when I first heard that, my success is a 100% guaranteed. And I started thinking, well, what's it been happening before then? If it's guaranteed, why hasn't it come to a realization yet? And so I started really taking a look at what else would I need to have that idea come true for me? What would I want it to look like? And I started realizing a difference between a want and a need. What is the difference between a want and a need? Well, a need is something I think of that we've worked on our whole life, food, clothing, shelter. If you look at Maslow's laws, he talks about food, clothing, and shelter. That's a need. A want is something beyond a need. What would happen if we grew out of a need and we didn't recognize the transition to a want? A want is very, very different than a need. When you start going after something that you want, all of a sudden, you'll say, when it gets tough, when you got to make changes, you'll say, oh, I don't need that then. I meet with a lot of people and I'll hear, this is what I really, really want. And so we start doing what's required to get what it is that you want. And all of a sudden they'll come to this place where they've never done something, or they've done it and it's not turned out. And they'll say, you know what, this is uncomfortable for me. I don't need this. And it's like, you're right. You don't need that. A need and a want are very different. Can you feel the difference between a need and a want? Yeah, a want causes you to move in that direction. And sometimes we have been in places in our life where we wanted something and we weren't able to get it. I've wanted this, but I'm not able to get it. How many of you remember a Christmas time when you had a secret thing that you wanted to get from Santa? Did anyone have that? You really wanted something? And then Christmas came and you got a turtleneck sweater instead? Does that ever happen to you? And you're like, I don't want this, but you need it, but it's not what I wanted. And so, do you know what the number one feared emotion is? Brene Brown did this study. I love this. It's joy. We fear joy. Because if we think of the idea of what it is that we want and the joy that we would have in having it, and when we start working towards what we want and we don't get it, then it doesn't feel good. We get feedback that tells us we haven't quite made it. And so then we feel this feeling of disappointment. And so we think, you know what? I'm not getting what I want. I don't even want to feel it. I don't want to be disappointed. So I'd rather not want it at all. Because have you ever seen something, you're going after it and then you want it and then you don't get it? And then you're like, I don't like the feeling of not having it. I had a belief that I was going to get it and now I don't have it. And it just doesn't feel good. And we walk around with that feeling. What would happen if I told you it was an unfolding? Something that you're unfolding. I have this really great saying. I heard this saying about a torture. It's death by 1,000 cuts. I remember hearing that idea and I was like, ooh, I don't like that. Can you imagine? Imagine paper cuts, death by 1,000 paper cuts. Ew, I don't even like it when I get one, let alone 1,000 of them. But here's the interesting thing. I started turning it around. Instead of being death by 1,000 cuts, what happens if it is success by 1,000 awarenesses? Sometimes when I think about traveling somewhere, I live in Vernon, British Columbia. And if I wanted to go to Vancouver, I say, hey, I want to go to Vancouver today. But you know what? That there is kilometer after kilometer after kilometer after kilometer to get there. That there are all these kilometers as I go to get there. There's all these things that you break down that I wasn't aware of. All these twists and turns in the road of going after what we want. I was reading this idea. I think sometimes we don't have an effective awareness. People will say, I want to have my goal and I want it to come really easy for me. I don't want it to be difficult or hard, like how I was taught it has to be hard. What would happen if it was easy? And I want it to be really easy. But what I realized is I have to have an effective awareness of a true cause to a true effect. That vibration and that attraction is, you might have an attraction to it, but you aren't matching it. If it were matching, it would come into view. So one of the first things is I began to say, am I matching my goal? Am I matching my idea? If I wanted to get to Vancouver, I will have to pay that price of going through every kilometer to get there. Every kilometer. Now I can get there in many, many ways. I can ride my bike. I can take a bus. I can take a car. I can take a flight there. But I get to determine how I'm going to go there. I get to do that. I can go there through thinking it's going to be hard. I can go through that thinking that it will be easy. I can go with joy, or I can go with worry and doubt. I can go with fear. I can go with anxiety. I get to choose what kind of state I want to go through it. What kind of state do you want to go through 2004? If I asked you, what kind of state do you think you went through 2003? What kind of state do you think that you went through? If you got to look back, were you in ease and flow? Were you worried? Did you doubt? Did you have concerns? Did you believe you couldn't do it? Or did you believe my goal is absolutely guaranteed? That takes a while to get there. Can I tell you? It takes a while to say, my success is absolutely guaranteed. I know the true cause and effect of what I'm going after. It's learning to pursue your goal and fall in love with your goal. Do you know some of the highest feelings when you're going after a goal is love? I love my goal. There's this really great song that I like by Shawn Mendes called I Wonder. It's one of my favorite songs. And when I heard that song, probably Matt will play it for us, but when I heard that song, I thought about my goal being in love with me. I never thought about it that way before. I was always pursuing my goal, but did I ever think of my goal pursuing me? Did I ever get in the idea that my goal was looking for me to express it? Did I ever think about that? And man, that got me so excited about the idea of my goal falling in love with me. That my goal was looking for a way to express itself. I've been looking for my goal and trying to express my goal, but what about my goal falling in love with me and my goal was waiting for me to express it? Man, I just felt like, wow, what would happen if I thought of my goal pursuing me? What if I told you your goal is pursuing you? Would that change it? Because I can tell you, it kind of got your attention. Your goal got your attention. It's trying to fall in love with you as well. It's wanting to fall in love with you. It's wanting you to bring it into the world. Sometimes we got to get our attention when we're doing that. I wanted to read with you about, I love this little book, U Squared by Price Pritchard. I don't know if you have it or not, but it is such a great little book to have, U Squared by Price Pritchard. It's really thin, but it's got really great power punching things about moving you towards your goal. But he has in there, it's called Fall in Love. And I thought I would read it to you before we get started on our year-long journey of looking back. But it says, falling in love, quantum leaps won't happen if you're living life with a lukewarm heart. Passion is a very important part of the process. It fires the soul and fills the spirit, energizes your heart and mind for the quantum leap to a higher plane of performance. Passion also keeps you going when you're hit with problems and uncertainty. But passion itself must be fueled, and you feed that flame with visions of a dream that is dramatic. The emotional intensity inside must burn hot enough to protect you against the chilling effects of doubt, uncertainty, criticism, or failure. Only deep desire can generate such heat. Wow. You know, today in one of my classes, we were talking about this chapter in Think and Grow Rich. I'm going to whisper because sometimes it's uncomfortable to talk about, but it's called sexual transmutation. Yes, I said it. Have you ever read chapter 11 in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich? Oh man, when you go after a goal, what would happen if you just fell in love with your goal so much you get swept away by it? Have you ever been in love that you just get swept away? You just get swept up into it. I'm even going to go a little bit more graphic if that's okay. But, you know, if you think about if you have a partner or something and, you know, you're ready for that kind of, you know, special time. And you kind of look over at your spouse and you're like, hey, how's it going? You busy? And so they go, yeah, okay. And so you start going into the bedroom and then all of a sudden they say, you know what, can I talk to you about, you know, our monthly bills? What? I've been meaning to talk to you about this for a while. And you just go, wait a minute, aren't we gonna, you know, sometimes interruptive energy will come in and it'll kill the mood. Do you know what I mean? It'll just kill the mood. Could that be happening with your goal or where you want to go? You're going towards your goal, and all of a sudden, some interruptive energy comes in that says you got to build a website. What? You got to learn sales. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? That doesn't feel good. What would happen if you learned some of the cues of falling in love? I didn't know some of the cues of falling in love. When it came to my goal, I didn't know some of them. I didn't know how to bring passion towards my goal because I looked at it as, oh, that doesn't feel good. I had to learn to fall in love. So let's continue with what he's saying here. But passion itself must be fueled, and you need that flame with vision of a dream that is dramatic. The emotional intensity inside must burn hot enough to protect you against the chilling effects of the doubt, uncertainty, and criticism and failure. Only deep desire can generate such heat. Well, this is like 50 Shades of Grey for your goal. You know what I'm talking about? 50 Shades of Grey. Everybody stood up a little. Yeah, you got to learn to build the desire towards it. For you to care this intensely, of course, there must be something worth caring about, something remarkable, special, and precious enough to light the fire in your heart. This means you must loosen the limits on your thinking and give yourself permission to pursue what you want most. The climate is right for the quantum leap only when you are passionately drawn to a particular goal. So let your deepest desires direct your aim. Set your sights far above the reasonable target. The power of purpose is profound only if you have a desire that stirs the heart. The inner drive must be strong enough to carry you past the point of wishful thinking. Did you hear that? The inner drive must be strong enough to carry you past the point of wishful thinking. The dream must consume you, control you, drive you. Drive you to action, disallowing half-hearted effort in pursuit. You know, not to get so graphic, but you know, when things are going right, when you finally do come together, You start having sex and it's a lot of fun, and everything starts getting swept up. You know, when you start it and your emotions and everything are so swept up that all of a sudden, before you know it, you're just in it. And you don't care about the bills. You don't care about if kids are in the house. You don't care about it's the middle of the day. You don't care about any of those things. You're just swept up in the moment and it just takes over. What would happen if you could build a goal that it just swept you up and you started doing things? You're going, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is crazy. Do you think your goal, you could fall in love with your goal that much that you could have a feeling of it, that you could feel your goal loving you as much as you love this experience, and you're getting swept up in the idea? When it says, so let your deepest desire direct your aim, set your sights far above the reasonable target. The power of purpose is so profound. The power of purpose is profound only if you have a desire that stirs your heart. The inner drive must be strong enough to carry you past the point of wishful thinking. The dream must consume you, control you, drive you to action, disallowing half-hearted effort in pursuit. Quantum leaps are an act of love, a passionate statement of how you care for the things you seek. Only an emotional move holds the power to carry you the distance from you to you square. You know, getting caught up in the passion or the desire or the drive is what's really important. What would happen if next year was a year of passion and drive and desire? What would happen if you felt yourself in a state of, going to use the word, an orgasmic climax to it happening, to where you get caught up in the moment and it's just this drive, this love that you have for what you're doing? You know, when you see people that are going after their goal, there is an energy about them. There is this sexual energy that we see, not so much about sex, but it's this passion that we feel in them. And we're attracted to it. People who are achieving goals and are living their life, they have this passion about them. And right now, I can tell you, we are in an age of information. And information will stop the passion like nobody's business. Learning to use who we are and learning to use that passion towards what we want to do. We are constantly seeking approval with information. If I know stuff, I'll be able to do stuff. Can I tell you, I talk to a lot of people that know if they want to be a coach, they talk about personal development all the time. They talk about it all the time. They talk about the information, and it is like nothing behind it. There's no passion. They just are giving information. Are you tired of information? Are you ready to have transformation? Because I can tell you, transformation is about you having a passionate feeling about what you're doing. Do you want to turn that on for 2024? I know for me, I really want to turn it on. I thought I was turning it on for 2023, but man, I got in the mechanics like there's nobody's business. And I started working really hard. I'm so grateful for this year because it helped me realize I might be trying to control too much. I might be trying to reason too much with all my smarty pants way of thinking. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at 2023. We're going to spend some time now going through each month and what you can do to really help you out. In your workbook, you have a thing. I'm just going to show you what it looks like really quickly. Let me just do this. It looks like this. Oh, I might need Matt to disable so I can share my screen. We'll just try that again. Nope, can't share yet. Well, in the workbook, can I do it now? There we go. Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Over here, you're going to see this idea of bless and release. You're going to have January and January. There's two. And so on the left-hand side, we're going to say, what did I start new in 2023? What inspired me? What did I love? What was there to support me? What great thing happened? And equally, when we go through each month, we're going to take a look at what did I stop in 2023? What bothered me? What couldn't I get? What hurt me? What do I get to leave behind? So you're going to put in here things that you loved that happened in 2023 and things that may have been difficult that you want to let go of. You know, in 2023, we had been watching my father, taking care of my father-in-law for about 8 years. And my father-in-law passed away this year. And there was a moment where, when it happened, I looked at that, and I don't really particularly like going through death, but in that moment, that death was really a sweet thing because he left this life. He was ready to move on, and I was really happy for him. But some of the things that you're going to go through in this list, you're going to find positive things about them and things that maybe weren't so positive, some things that you didn't quite feel good about. Those things that you loved, you want to emulate those this next year. And things that may have been difficult, you want to say, yeah, this was a little bit hard for me. Does that make sense? So we have 2 pages of this. So we're going to go through each month. You might want to get your phone out. Now, I'm going to give you some current events or things that are happening. So maybe it'll jar your memory, but you could go back. I put mine on January the 1st, 2023, and I looked at it so I could kind of get an idea of what I was doing in 2000 or at January. So if you don't have the workbook printed out, just put a line down the middle and just put January on each side, and we'll go through it together. So we're going to take about 2 to 3 minutes on each part, if that's okay. So we're gonna, they're probably dropping the file, but we're gonna take about 2 or 3 minutes on each one. So I want you to sort of reflect. So we'll play some music in between, if that's okay. So I'm gonna talk about the year, let you think about it, and then you can look at pictures and kind of decide. So I hope it's okay, Matt, if I'm gonna take over the music thing for a little bit. Not like we share the same music thing. But okay, so in January, did you know it was actually December 31st, but we heard about it January the 1st, is that Pope Benedict died. Did you know that? I didn't know that. That was some of the current events that happened. Oops, in January. Another thing that happened, well, first of all, we should have started out with the beginning of the new year. Do you remember how you felt? Where were you at New Year's? Did you spend something in New Year's Day? Do you remember what you did New Year's Day? And then some other things that happened was one of the old, I don't know why I started out with death, but I started out with death. The highlights of current events were 2 people passed away, but the oldest living person passed away also in January. So I'm going to play a little bit of music, and I want you just to journal in January. What was some good things that happened and some things that maybe you want to let go of? Let me see. Matt, you might have to share your screen or let me have that ability to do that. So in the month of February, February's Valentine's Day. We have a winter carnival here in February. Also, in case you're not aware of it, February is my birthday. Write that down, February 26th. You want to be way ahead of it. Yeah, February 26th is my birthday. Maybe some of you went on vacation, took down your Christmas stuff. Let's move on to March. In March was St. Patty's Day. I have to tell you, as I was doing this, Paula, who's from Ireland, she said, I want you to tell people that it's just another day in Ireland. Everyone outside of Ireland celebrates St. Patty's Day. But St. Patty's Day is a really big one. It's also, for me, it's a time where I'm really wanting spring, and I tend to get flowers for myself around that time. I don't know about you. What was happening in March? See if you can really relate it to your goal. What was happening with your goal during that time? April. Let's go to April. April was the month that Easter was happening. That's where Passover is. Might be where you had family that came together, or you went on a school break. What was happening with you in April? May, month of May. In the month of May, what was happening is King Charles got crowned. It was on the 6th of May. The movie Top Gun came out. It's also when Mother's Day is, and Cinco de Mayo. What were you doing in the month of May? What was happening towards your goal in the month of May? The month of June. The month of June was Father's Day. It was the summer solstice. It happened June 21st. Oh, and Michelle Osborne's birthday. Kids are starting to get out of class or out of school. The month of July. July 1st in Canada is Canada Day, and the 4th of July in the US. July is usually when the heat is starting to happen, plants are starting to grow, your garden's growing. What was happening for you in July this year? Do you have company? What was happening with your goal month of July? The month of August. The month of August was a time where we're doing last minute vacations, getting things ready for the fall to start. They're starting to go back to school, so we're trying to fit everything in. You went to the Barbie movie in August. look at some of the pictures on your phone and just go, wow. I went to Ireland in August. It was a really amazing time. You know, I got to do a lot of traveling this year and super grateful for it. Let's move on to September. September, kids are definitely in school. We're getting back into routine, going back into some hot times. In the Okanagan, we get fires. So, you know, you're on alert a little bit. Back to school. What was happening with your goal when you started getting back into routine? October. October was a month of, for Canadians, where it's our Canadian Thanksgiving. It's when Halloween is happening. It's a big thing in the States. People decorate. Maybe you're into the routine of things and some space is opened up for you to do some different things. What's something that was happening for you in the month of
You
October?
want to go to the other side, dear? Otherwise, you're going to be in the picture. How you feeling? Oh, okay.
Susan, somehow your mic, you came unmuted. There we go. Thanks. month of November. What was happening last month? Did you go do something special? Maybe go to a concert or go spend time with friends. American Thanksgiving was happening. Kids are having a little bit of a break. What happened last month? How did you feel about your goal in the month of November? We're at the month of December. I know it's only been a few days. What's been happening in the month of December? What new ideas are you putting into place? What things are you letting go of? How do you feel about your goal? Okay. I'm going to let you finish up, tonight. I would love it tonight. Here's what I would love for you to do. If you notice, I'll share this really quickly. If you noticed on your on your sheet, you have a first part and a second part. And on the bottom, it says, after completing, take the right side and cut away. Take the right side and burn it. Post a picture of releasing and share with the group. Bless and release. Keep the left side. Keep it to let it remind you of the good. Feel grateful. I think I might have said it. Yeah, that I'm blessed. You want to be able to see that for yourself. And so what would happen if, I'm going to let you can go back and fill in some more if you want to, but how many of you noticed for yourself some of the events? I'm watching Claudia. I was really into my phone looking at all of my pictures. It's fascinating when you go back and you look at everything you accomplished in that year, right? I was looking at it going, wow, I knew I was going to do this event. And I had forgotten some of the things that I had done. To really look at what I had accomplished was really quite amazing. How many of you had events and you were like, I'm not sure if this is a bless or a release? Did you notice some of those? Yeah, I had a couple of them myself. And, you know, I shared one about, my father-in-law, but I also, as I was building my team this year, a lot of things were settled around my business and growing my business. And I had team members that I, was so grateful for, but team members that moved on. And they were parts of me that I didn't know how I felt about it. I sat there and I was like, is this a bless or release? You have mixed emotions about it. There were moments where I was letting go of things and I didn't know how I felt about it. Decisions that people made that I didn't want those decisions to be made. Did you feel some of those things too? Does anyone want to share anything that they noticed as they were going through theirs? Maybe something that came up and you're like, wow, I didn't even think about that. Anyone have anything they want to share? I know it's kind of on the spot. Yeah, Michelle.
Hi, Angie.
Hello.
Most of mine, when you said that, looking at events and not sure if they're a bless or release, and I'm very grateful. However, most of those involved my family. This is what I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a whole other story, right? But yeah. So it's very interesting when we think about, not just the celebrations of the event itself, but how did you feel while you were, like, for example, while you're looking at the photo, even though you're celebrating a birthday, let's say, how were you feeling in that moment with those people?
Yeah.
And what do you remember from that event? Was it good or bad? Even though, like you said about the attention, right? So was the intention of that event good? Yeah, sure. It was a birthday or it was a whatever celebration. Even Thanksgiving, right? And we know the holidays are coming up. When you were in it, how did it feel? And when they left, how did it feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my awareness from that exercise. So thank you very much. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some of those awarenesses are really, really, they're difficult to talk about. I have someone that I have a couple that I love being around, and some of my family members don't like being around them. So I ended up having 2 events, holiday, so I could celebrate with that person, those people, and then my family. And that didn't make me feel good when I saw that. I let in my own home being dictated. Yeah, I noticed that about myself. Yeah, I noticed things about Mother's Day and my birthday and things where I did things to please other people. Yeah. Jamie, I saw your hand up. I want to be sure and get yours.
Oh, no problem. One of my biggest takeaways is that in January of last year, I made a lot of goals and I actually worked towards a lot of them more so than I had given myself credit for. And I think one of the great takeaways for me is I put myself out there and I aligned with so many great people this year. I think that is probably the biggest one for me that felt really good. And I think it's that, energy and attraction when you're excited and you're passionate and your authentic self, these really cool things start happening. And those things have been happening. I just didn't really take a moment to recognize it.
Yeah.
So that was super fun to see.
That is so brilliant. Yeah. There were, there are moments I went through, and I did really realize, like what you were saying, Michelle, about looking at family. I really looked at, I traveled to Toronto, I traveled to Ireland, I went down to the States. I did actually a lot of traveling. And I really realized it was, I took my daughter to Ireland and I did first class all the way for 2 weeks and gave her that experience. She lived in Ireland and I never went and visited her. So this time we went there and I went all around the whole island and got to see all the things she wanted to share with us. Wasn't enough time, by the way. Don't let Ireland fool you, even though it's a little island. It's not, it's big, it's full of lots, but it was really amazing. So when you look at some of the things that you accomplished, are you like, I looked at myself and went, I cannot believe I did that in 2 weeks' time. I remember, Jamie, when you and I met, man, I knew right away, this woman is on fire. She is going for things. And I just remember she was like, I've done a lot of things. And I was like, you are ready for so much more, so much more. And you've come this far, keep going. How great when you can see how far you've come since January, the confidence that you may have gained, the things that you may have done, really, really good. Thanks, Jamie. Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, long time no chat.
Mhm. How are you? You had big things going on too.
I did. So I finished school in the spring and then ended up in the ICU and almost died.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it has been a big year of learning and growing for me.
Yeah.
So choosing grace, that's what I've learned in the last few months, that looking back at how far I've come from being in that hospital bed to where I am now, and how I'm sitting in my office right now, and it's growing and flourishing and helping people. And it's been a journey, just seeing and writing it all down and seeing all the things that have happened. It's been a process. So it's, like I said, choosing grace. That's been a huge thing for me lately, going, yep, you did it and you did it. Keep going. You did it. So yeah. So
Amazing. Well, congratulations. And I'm so glad you're here with us today.
thank you.
That's great. Anyone else? Yes, Heidi.
So I thank you, Jamie, for putting words to what I did. Wasn't giving myself full credit because I was noticing, wow, I had all these meetings and met all these amazing people. But, and I was like, wait, that was amazing. That was wonderful. So thank you for that reframe of, it wasn't just because it's nice to meet new people, but these were wonderful people in general, and many of them, I believe, will be future partners and collaborators. And I also did see that my lack of clarity around my goal this year was reflected in the absence of a lot of business building activity that would have brought me results, because I wasn't clear yet on what I wanted those results to be. And as I got clearer toward the more present day, more and more things were showing up as, well, you did this, oh, you did that. And I thought, good, that's the reassurance. Okay, consciously put more things in line to ask for business, put myself in the situation of attracting and asking for business, and more will come. So it was not yet what I want it to be, and there were absolute signs of progress.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When I love this saying, when you're clear, you're kind. When you're clear, you're kind. And sometimes when we're unclear, we're unkind to ourselves and we don't know it. But we see wins of, I'm getting clarity, I'm getting clarity. This is so good, and those are really big wins to share. And, I've been fortunate enough to witness your growth over the last few months. And man, well, actually almost a year now, if you think about it, in my awareness. Yeah. And so, you're such an asset to our community. And I just really thank you for showing up. And
Thank you.
let me tell you, she's got the best talk ever. You're going to want to hear it. We're getting her to start saying it out loud. But man, she had me in tears this morning. It was so good in our class. So good. Congratulations. Yeah, just beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. You have grown. I'm so glad you can see that. Beautiful. Love it. Claudia.
Hello everyone. I've absolutely loved this process. Thank you, Angie, for guiding us through. And as you saw, me going through my phone, it was amazing. I just wanted to say thank you for the analogy of the opposite of death by 1,000 cuts and success by 1,000 awarenesses. And that's really what I got going through my phone and reflecting back from, where I was in January. And then my phone just showed me over and over and over again what I had done, where I was putting my attention, and really how things just sort of flourished and blossomed as the year went on. So I loved it. Thank you.
Good. Oh, I'm so glad. I love looking back. I love looking back and seeing how far I've grown in a year. And sometimes I can get really hard on myself, and I don't realize every step of the way was teaching me something in my awareness. And so when I find that awareness, can I be grateful for what happened and the experiences that I did or took? And so I'm so glad. It's one of my favorite events to do. I love this event. Yeah.
It's great because I think we don't just stop and reflect on the wins. All we're doing is thinking, right next, done, right next, done, moving forward. So thank you. Thanks again.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for sharing. Marcy.
Wow. I'm going to be really honest.
Yeah.
Because I want to come from a place of integrity. I was feeling a little emotional before I came on. And I thought, well, I'm going to write out all the things that I want to release that don't serve me anymore.
Right. So
I did that. And then when you asked us to go through and identify things in the year, I thought, well, I can't. It was like there was a bit of a blank there. I was thinking, well, what have I experienced that really feels good and what haven't I? So I actually had to refer to my calendar. I should have got out my phone, but I didn't. I went through my calendar, and it's been kind of a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
I'm a newbie to this group since October. So I wanted to do the program because I really felt like I was ready to make a change. Yeah. Because things weren't really working for me in my business. And because I have experienced lots of success in my life in the past, I believe that there was something happening within myself that was creating barriers for my business to grow. And so I thought, I need to invest in myself. The last 2 years have been difficult for some in my personal life and in my business life. Looking back over this year, I'm a traveler. I love to travel. I spent 3 weeks in Italy, had a beautiful time at a friend's wedding. I was just in Costa Rica for a week with some girlfriends. I went to Utah for conference, Vegas for conference. So, you know, my thing is to grow, to learn, to experience, to like all those things. And I love how I feel when I go away.
Yeah.
I love to come home, but I love how I feel. And I wrote twice here, I feel free when I just can be in the moment, in the, like, just purely in the moment. Yesterday, we were asked, a friend asked if we would send a couple of pictures lighting a candle, because my friend lost his son to suicide last December 5th, a 17-year-old boy. So it's hard when, you know, people lose people that they love.
Yeah.
And, you know, it brought up memories of other people, you know, that have gone too soon, right? They weren't able to achieve that full life. So I feel blessed in many ways to have this opportunity to have the awareness so that I can achieve what I want, but also help other people achieve what they want.
Yeah.
I know I have a long ways, you know, I think I have a long ways to go. That's kind of how it feels right now. It feels a bit heavy, but I feel committed to the process. I guess, yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, I really feel for you, and I just love your heart so much. I think I've told you that before. I've known Marcy for a few years, and she really cares about people, and she really wants to help people in such a big way. And it's becoming aware of what's happening. And what I really love about your heart, when death happens and we have this feeling of grief, it's because we've loved much.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that is such a habit for us to love much, and so when that stops, where do you put that love now? Where do you put it towards something? And I think sometimes this is where people, when there's holiday times in the end of the year, we look back and reflect on life. And sometimes there's loss in our life. There really is loss. And we can get into energies of feeling that loss. And that's why it's so good to look back and see the good things as well, because we can get caught in an energy and that's all we'll see for a while. And that's why looking back over a year is so good, you know, to see the ups and the downs. And that's just natural law, those waves of, you know, the tide goes out and the tide comes in. We're constantly in this motion of things that are happening. And so whatever goes down must come up.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever's
Yeah,
up.
like it was, you know, I was trying to think of all the positive things that in my business, you know, the conferences were super positive and uplifting, but there wasn't a lot of change there. So it was hard to identify. You know, I feel like I'm more focused on releasing, you know, the crap and the things I tell myself, and the, you know, the disappointments, and, you know, all of that. I just, you know, so when I travel, I don't think about those things.
Right.
You know, and it gives me that freedom, right? So, but, you know, it's like anything, you can't sweep something under the rug and expect not to address it later. You have to look at the elephant in the room. And that's, you know, what I feel like I'm doing now is I really want to get to the good stuff, if you will.
Yeah, you know, that feeling of when you travel, that feeling of traveling in freedom. What would happen if you could take that toward your goal? When you're doing things like, you know, having appointments or working with people, what would happen if you could have that feeling? And you want to bring that in? You know, right now, even in the wintertime, I can tell you this. In the wintertime, I can close my eyes and I can feel myself on a sunny beach, and I can feel the heat from the sun warming my skin up. And you know, they've even measured this, that your body temperature will go up just by the thought of it. So the thought that we have will give us the experience that we want. And when we look back and we see the ups and downs, we can look at those experiences and we can say, did I truly live what I wanted to live through those experiences? Was I really being the authentic self for myself? If we went back to what Michelle was talking about, you know, I saw myself, especially when it went toward my goal, I actually did what other people wanted me to do. I wasn't really present for myself in how I wanted to create life. I gave experiences based on other people around me. This is what we're going to talk about this, you know, tomorrow, now that we have all this thing, this journey that we've gone through and this awareness. What do we do with it? You know, I don't want to just do this exercise for the sake of doing the exercise. We want to build on our experiences so that we can move them through. So thank you, Marcy, for sharing that. I just
Thank
love
you.
your heart. That's
I
so
feel
good.
better.
So
I just
good.
had to be honest. Right?
No, it's good. You know, listen, sadness is listen, being sad is not a bad, there's no good or bad emotions. They just are. They just are. And so what can we learn from them? So that's really, really good. Hi, Jane.
Yes,
How
hello.
are you?
Yes, thank you for today. It has been wonderful, and also to Marcy for thank you for sharing such deep things.
Yeah.
I found in going through, looking through this year, there wasn't a lot of exterior, like exciting outward activity, but I did a great deal of inner work. And part of that inner work is doing a lot of writing in the morning, including the 10 gratitudes every morning. And I've been so diligent about that. So when I look back on this year, there were some very like crazy, stressful situations that I went through. But I realized that I navigated those situations in gratitude. It was like a case like driving, you know, it was quite frightening. The axle of my vehicle broke just as I was going onto a major highway.
Wow.
A very extremely stressful day. But what I realized was all of the work that I have done on gratitude, that the gratitude had dropped into my subconscious mind. And so my conscious mind was in a panic mode. My subconscious mind took over with tremendous calm and gratitude. And there were other situations as well last year. And what I realized is it's not just a matter of going through these exercises, but this stuff works. It changes the way you receive life and the way you respond to life. So, and in that spirit, again, I thank you for today. It's been very enlightening.
So good. Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for sharing. And we're glad that you're healthy and good and you made it. Even your best days, you made it. Or your worst days, you made it. So that's good. That's so good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't know if Mr. Matt is on here or not. Are you still here, Mr. Matt? Let's see if we can get him on.
I'm here.
And come on here with me. Come on here with me. This is the best husband ever, Matt. There he is. Hello. Look at us together on here. So, Matt, what I really want to help people understand is that you have something that you're really creative about. And we talked about this, and I would really love to do this as a group to put the energy out there, is that if you go through the experience tonight, journal some time, have a little bit of journaling time. And then I would love for you to take your paper and burn it. the part of you that you want to let go of, do a ceremonial thing. It's very, very freeing when you go and you burn it. And you know what I like to do? I like to take the ashes and then put it in my plants. I like to rebirth it somehow. I like to take those ashes and let's have them count for something. Because a lot of what I'm releasing are things that, you know, I want to let go of. And so have it nourish something else. That's my thought. I want to let it go. And so I would love it if you did that and that you posted it, that you expressed yourself. And here's some of the scary thing. Well, for me, sometimes social media, I have like this weird thing. What will people think? But what I'd love for you to do is go on your own page and just write about it a little bit and show a picture of you burning your paper. And then if you can, go into our Facebook group. We have this great Facebook group. And if you tag me in it or tag Elevate You Institute, we have a new social media platform in Instagram where we made Elevate You Institute. I would love it if you went over there and started following us, because I don't have any followers yet, and I haven't started following anyone. But if you could go that and then tag, when you post your picture, if you will tag Elevate You Institute, that will be fantastic. And then Matt is going to gather all those up and he's going to create a video of all of us letting go. So if you can participate in this, I would really love for you to do that. And then Matt will work on it and then we'll watch the video tomorrow. How does that sound? Good?
It means you got to do it today.
You have to do it today.
Don't leave it until 2 minutes before our class tomorrow.
So I think Erin is dropping our new Instagram link, I believe. She's so good.
Yes, she is. It's in the chat.
Perfect.
So is the Facebook. If for some reason you're not in the Facebook group, just go ahead and request to be in there. Just click on that and be in there. Yeah.
Yeah. In our first Facebook group, I'd love for you to share your experience in there. But I'd really like for you to share it on your own page as well, if possible, and tag us in there. And it's really good to express to people. I think people who know you, I think it's just such a really good thing for our friends and family to see, hey, we're letting go of something. Anyway, I'm very excited. Today was such a good day, Matt. I really enjoyed it. There was a few things in there that I wrote. I can't wait to talk to you about. Processing things for myself. But if you need any support or help, if you would love to talk to one of our members, they might be reaching out to you. But if you want to book a call, or you had some feelings or some things that you wanted to share, we would love to hear from you. So go ahead. I think we have a link to book a call with us if you'd like to. Tomorrow is going to be really good. We're going to take all this work that we did today, and now we're going to have it have meaning for us in 2024. So if you want to book a call or share with any of us at all, just click on that link and we can reach out to you and have a chat with you. And I just want to thank you for coming on today. This was a lot of good work, and most of us won't even take the time to do it. But I really want to thank you for coming on today, and I look forward to having you come on tomorrow. So make sure and clear your time and come on tomorrow, and we'll have a great day with it. And so we'll just let Matt dance us out. Can we do that, Matt?
If I'm being real, do I speak
my favorite song. Good.
I wonder, wouldn't it be nice to live inside a world that isn't black and white? I wonder what it's like to be my friends. Hope that they don't think I'll forget about them. I wonder, right before I close my eyes, the only thing that's on my mind, been dreaming that you feel it too. I wonder what it's like to be loved by you. Yeah, I wonder what it's like. I wonder what it's like to be loved by you. Why I'm I'm so afraid of saying something wrong. I never said I was a saint. I wonder, when I cry into my hands, I'm conditioned to feel like it makes me less of a man. And I wonder if someday you'll be by my side and tell me that the world will end up alright. I wonder, right before I close my eyes, the only thing that's on my mind, been dreaming that you feel it too. I wonder what it's like to be loved by you. Yeah, I wonder what it's like. I wonder what it's like to be loved by you. I wonder what it's like to be loved by you. Yeah, I wonder what it's like to be loved by you. Yeah, I wonder what it's like to be loved by you. Before I close my eyes, the only thing that's on my mind, been dreaming that you feel it too. I wonder what it's like to be loved by you.
See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.